Hello everyone and welcome to the Dill Pickle Movie Network. I am Dylan Randazzo and I have a very agonizing task ahead of me, and that is picking my predictions for this 2021 Oscars. It has been the longest Oscar season of all time, I think. I don't have the numbers, but I think it has been the longest Oscar season ever, and that's because, with the pandemic, things were pushed, but because things were pushed, now we have even more time to sit with other award shows, other results, other films coming out during the Oscar race to really shake things up. So I will tell you right now, there are only 6 categories of these whole 23 that I am 100% on, and I won't even spend much time discussing those ones. And then some movies and categories that I'm, a little confident in, some that I'm iffy but confident in, and then 4 categories where I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen. I will say I began predicting the Oscars, seriously paying attention to the Oscars, in 2012 when Argo won. And ever since then, I've really been invested in the Oscars, and I've only gotten as much as 22 out of 24 categories right. And that was in 2013 with 12 Years a Slave winning Best Picture, and then again in 2017 with Shape of Water winning Best Picture. Those 2 years, I got 2 categories wrong because there were 24 categories. Now the categories have shortened down to 23 categories. They combine sound mixing and sound editing to make Best Sound. So, you could say it's a little easier because now I only have to get 23, not 24. But now, if I get 2 wrong, that's 21 out of 23, not 22 out of 24. So I'm aiming to at least beat my personal record of 22, but that means I have to go perfect. So there's a lot of pressure, and I don't think I'm going to go perfect, because there's always at least 1 or 2 surprises. So I'm going into this knowing I'm not going to get all of them right, obviously. The first 6 awards I'm going to just rattle through, because I don't think I need to spend much time on them. They tend to be the awards that have really just been sweeping pretty much every awards. I know there are so many award ceremonies throughout the year, but I really am only looking at the big award ceremonies, the ones that are televised, the Critics' Choice, the SAG Awards, the Globes, the BAFTAs. Those are the awards I'm going to use to really base what I think will happen at the Academy Awards. Not saying that the other awards aren't important, but they are smaller voting bodies, and the smaller the voting body, the more chance of deviation from the Academy Awards we will see. I'm looking for the award shows that have the biggest voting bodies. So these are the 6 categories that kind of swept their categories. There's really no dispute as to who's going to win, and if anyone does win in these categories, they will be considered some of the biggest upsets in the last few years. The first category is Best Sound. I think it's pretty safe to say Sound of Metal will be winning that award. This is actually probably the most confident I've been. You don't have sound editing and sound mixing now, so it's just one category, and I think Sound of Metal was a shoo-in to win at least one of those 2 if it was separate, and probably both of them. I don't think it's going to lose. Production Design, I think it's been shaping up. It's going to be Mank. Mank has 10 nominations. This is really the only award that I think it's going to win tonight, and it's well-deserved. The production design is great. It's old Hollywood. We saw last year Once Upon a Time in Hollywood won. They love their movies about Hollywood, especially when they recreate sets and stuff like that, so I think Mank is a shoo-in. For cinematography, I'm going to go with Nomadland. It seems like the obvious favorite. Those shots are gorgeous. It really helps that they filmed in some of the most beautiful locations in the world, but again, the camera work was beautiful. Just because they went to beautiful locations, you still have to capture them well, and I think they did, and I think the Academy agrees. International feature film, I think with Minari not being eligible for this category, because keep in mind, other award shows, they go by the language being spoken in the film, but the Oscars go by the country that produced the film. Technically, Minari is an American-produced film, so it is not eligible in international feature, even though it is in a foreign language for most of the film. So I think with Minari out of the picture, I think it is clear that another round is going to win this round. The next 2 categories, like I said, these are the very confident ones that I feel really good in. They're 2 huge categories, but I think it's set in stone. Supporting actor, Daniel Kaluuya, Judas and the Black Messiah, he's been sweeping, and then director, Chloe Zhao in Nomadland. I think this is going to be a sweep, a clean sweep. She has won virtually every award this season. Even the smaller critics circles, she has won everything. So to bet against her is idiotic, I think, at this point. And if there's a surprise, I don't see it coming from any of those 6 categories. The next 7 categories are my, pretty safe to say categories. These are ones that I'm pretty safe in predicting, even though they're not necessarily locks because there is potential for upsets. I think they are pretty straightforward. The first one being Best Animated Feature. I think Soul has it. I think Soul seems to be the favorite, but I do know a lot of word of mouth. People just love Wolfwalkers, so of course there could be a little bit of a potential for spoiler, but I'm going with Soul. I'm also going with Soul for original score. Again, Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross, big Academy favorites since they won with The Social Network a few years ago. I guess not a few years ago, almost a decade ago. It was more than a decade ago. I can't believe that movie came out more than a decade ago. But, the Academy loves them. Now you also are awarding John Batiste, who is the third composer for Soul. The movie is all about music. I think it's going to win, but it's a score category, so there's always potential for a spoiler there. The next category is Supporting Actress. This one has really shaped up. This was one of the most unpredictable ones at the top of the season, but I think it's really come into the clear that Yo Jung-yoon is going to win for Minari. She has won the SAG and the BAFTA, and I think that was just the 1-2 punch needed to really predict her in this category. I think Maria Bakalova had a little bit of steam early on. Glenn Close is that, the one who has never been awarded, but I really do think Yoo Jung-yoon this year will take the prize, and I'd be very happy to see it. Best visual effects, I think, is going to go to Tenet. Visual effects has done some crazy things in the past. They love their space movies, so Midnight Sky is one to watch out for. And then a few years ago, they gave it to Ex Machina over movies like Star Wars, Force Awakens, and Mad Max Fury Road. Sometimes they go for the more subtle visual effects, so they might go with something like Mulan or The One and Only Ivan, where it's not super in your face, but the visual effects are definitely there. But I do think Tenet has this one in the bag. I'm fairly confident in it. For makeup and hairstyling and costume design, I'm going with Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. These are two separate categories, but I really do think Ma Rainey has been gaining a lot of traction, especially with the BAFTA. That really solidified, I think, their chances of winning. It's pretty notable that in makeup and hairstyling, this would be the first all-black makeup team, and I think especially in 2021, this is going to be a really awesome moment to see an all-black makeup team win. So I'm picking Ma Rainey's Black Bottom for makeup, and for costume design, I'm also going with Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. And lastly in this category is Best Original Screenplay. This is a race where a few months ago, if you had told me, who's going to be the winner, I would have immediately said Aaron Sorkin, but with these past few awards, Emerald Fennell has been winning a ton for Promising Young Woman, and I really think that this is a screenplay that people are really, really digging, and I think it's got a really good shot of winning, and it is my predicted winner for Best Original Screenplay. Now that those categories are out of the way, those are the very confident categories. I'm going to my two categories that I think, I'm a little iffy on, but I'm still fairly confident, and those are Best Documentary Feature and Best Song. These are two categories that I am feeling confident in, but they have been categories that I've gotten wrong in the past a lot. So documentary, I'm going with My Octopus Teacher because it won the BAFTA, it won the PGA for documentary. Usually documentaries are kind of a long shot, you pick the one that's getting the most hype, but this year I really think most of the award shows have been rallying against My Octopus Teacher, rallying for rather, and I really don't see the other movie that would win. Maybe Collective, because it's also nominated for International Feature, but here's how I look at it. If you have a movie that's up for International Feature and Documentary Feature, and people like that movie, and they want to vote for it, but they don't want to vote for it in two categories, they want to spread the wealth, do you vote for it in documentary? Or do you vote for it in international film? And I think that's a problem Collective is going to have, is that some people who are fans of it are going to vote for it in either documentary or international feature instead of rallying in one category. So I think that actually ruins Collective's chances of winning in either category. So I am going to predict My Octopus Teacher, though if there's a documentary I think could slip through, Crip Camp, could be the one to do the job. Crip Camp has a really powerful message. It's widely accessible on Netflix. A lot of people have seen it. So look out for Crip Camp, but I think it's going to be My Octopus Teacher. For original song, like I said, I think I know where this is going, and I'm going to go in this direction because of who is nominated for it as well, and that is Leslie Odom Jr. for Speak Now. I'm going with this because A, Leslie Odom Jr., if they want to award him, he's not going to win in supporting actor, because like I said, Daniel Kaluuya has it locked up. This might be a good place to award him. I'm a little hesitant not to pick Husavik, just because Netflix is really pushing the hell out of that, and then Low C from The Life Ahead has been nominated everywhere and won the Golden Globe, so there's a possibility for that too, but I think Speak Now is going to be the song that a lot of people are going to really have the most attachment to. The next categories I'm going to be looking at are the short films, and short films is very interesting because these could be the make or break categories for your Oscar pools. If you want to win your Oscar pool, these are the 3 categories you have to nail, because these are the ones that everyone's going to pick something different for. And you just have to be on the right wavelength with 1 out of 5 that you probably haven't seen. The good news about documentary short, animated short, live action short is that these films are more accessible now with streaming services. So I think that will have a little something to do with some of the categories. But again, these are the categories that win Oscar pools because, again, they're the most unpredictable. For documentary short, I'm gonna go with A Concerto is a Conversation. Now, a lot of people are saying the favorite is A Love Song for Latasha, but the thing is, A Concerto is a Conversation has a very notable person behind it, and that is Ava DuVernay, is the producer of this short film. And I think, when you have a big name like Ava DuVernay, who has not been awarded, I don't believe, at the Academy Awards yet, but is still a very, very well-known and respected name amongst the Academy, I think that's a big bonus for A Concerto as a Conversation. I also think, it centers around the composer of Green Book, a movie that won Best Picture a few years ago. You have a movie about a composer who made the score for another movie that won Best Picture, produced by another person who is just loved by everyone in the film verse, film Twitter, and the Academy. So I really think Concertos in Conversation is that sleeper pick. It's a documentary short. It could go anyway. It could go to the other, it could go to Colette or Do Not Split. But I'm going with A Concerto as a Conversation. For animated short, I'm going with If Anything Happens, I Love You. I think that is the one that has been getting the most buzz. It's available on Netflix. Whenever I open my Netflix, it's the first thing that comes up. I think they're really pushing for this film. It is very timely. It is very resonant with a lot of people who watch it. I don't think anyone has watched it and not enjoyed it, and I know most people who have watched it have told me that they have cried. I've not watched it. By the time you're seeing this video, I will have probably watched it because it's on Netflix. I might as well. It is the favorite for sure. Burrow, a lot of people are saying don't bet against Disney, and that's safe to say. Don't bet against Disney, but this time I'm betting against Disney, and I'm going with If Anything Happens, I Love You. And live action short, I'm going with Two Distant Strangers. Again, it's on Netflix. It's more accessible. Some people have seen it more than other short films. Also, it's just got a very timely subject matter, with everything going on, Black Lives Matter and the George Floyd protests. This seems like the most timely movie. Of the short films that are awarded, usually there's one that's a little lighter than the others. So because I'm going with A Concerto as a Conversation as that lighter one, I'm picking 2 of the heavier ones in If Anything Happens, I Love You, and Two Distant Strangers in the other 2 categories. So I hope that pays off. The short films, again, anyone's guess. So those are my picks. The next 4 categories are the ones that I like to call the What the F is Going On categories, because these are the 4 categories that I honestly, a few months ago and maybe even weeks ago, would have said, these are pretty set in stone. But now, even in the past week, have just been completely blown up, and no one knows who's going to win them. So we're going to start with adapted screenplay, and I think this is a very interesting one because Borat won the WGA, which is the Writers Guild Award, but I don't see it having a shot here. Then you have 2 plays, One Night in Miami and The Father. Plays aren't normally awarded in this category. They tend to shy away from plays. Then you have The White Tiger, which I just think is a little bit underseen by the Academy. And then you have Nomadland, which should be the obvious favorite, but The Father won the BAFTA. And the fact that The Father won the BAFTA, and when I'm looking through my predictions, I don't know where else The Father might win. And I'm trying to think if all these Best Picture nominees win somewhere. Promising Young Woman's going to win an original screenplay. Nomadland's going to win directing. Judas is going to win supporting. Minari's going to win supporting. It's like, where does The Father fit in? And I think this is the category where The Father fits in. I'm predicting The Father, and I know the odds are not on my side. I know a lot of people are picking Nomadland. They're predicting Chloe Zhao to win, adapted screenplay, director, and picture, and it very well could. But I do think if there's gonna be one category that they don't go for Nomadland, I think it might be this one. And I think it's gonna go to The Father. That's my bold prediction. Like I said, plays aren't normally awarded here, which gives me a little bit of pause, but if The Father's gonna be awarded anywhere, it will be here. Next is film editing. Now, this could also be The Father, who knows, but I think it's really shaped into a 2-horse race between Sound of Metal and The Trial of the Chicago 7. Sound of Metal and The Trial of Chicago 7 tied at the Critics' Choice. So already it was a 50-50 split. Then, at the BAFTAs, Sound of Metal took it and then became the frontrunner. I was ready to predict it until the ACE Eddie Awards, which is specifically for editing, happened and Trial won again. So I think we're at an even 2-2. They tied in one, and then they each one another. So it's really just flipping a coin between the two. Maybe I'm inclined to pick Trial of the Chicago 7, because if Trial of the Chicago 7 doesn't win here, it's not winning anywhere, because I don't think it has a shot in any other category. So the fact that this is the one category that Trial could win makes me a little more swayed to pick it here over Sound of Metal, even though I do think there's one statistic that's just sitting in the back of my brain, and that's in the past few years, the person who's won Best Editing has also been for the film that has won Best Sound. Last year, Ford vs. Ferrari won Editing and Sound. The year before that, Bohemian Rhapsody won Editing and Sound. It happens a lot. And the fact that it happens a lot makes me really, really itching to pick Sound of Metal. So it's like Angel and the Devil on my shoulders. It's like Trial of the Chicago 7 is saying, pick me. I won the Eddie Award, and this is the only award that Trial can win. And then Sound of Metal's like, but dude, I'm going to win Sound. And Sound and Editing usually match up. And I'm picking Trial. I'm picking Trial of the Chicago 7 just because it feels like the most edity of the awards. Like, I feel like it's got the most cuts, the most in-your-face editing. And I think the Academy is going to award every Best Picture nominee somewhere. Mank is winning production design. As I said, Sound of Metal's winning sound. I think this is going to be where the Trial of Chicago 7 wins. If it is Sound of Metal, I also kind of saw it coming, but I'm going to go with the Trial of Chicago 7 for this category. Here's a category that I thought was completely 100% clear until about 2 weeks ago, and that is Best Actor. Chadwick Boseman has been the favorite all season, and I still think he's the favorite, and I'm still probably predicting him. But the reason I put him in this category is because Anthony Hopkins has been gaining a lot of traction, and that is because of the BAFTA. The BAFTA, he won the BAFTA, and a lot of people are saying, oh, it's because he's playing on a home court advantage. He's in Britain, I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think the fact is that The Father came out later, so it wasn't going to win the earlier awards like the Critics' Choice or the Golden Globes. It was never going to be a huge player there. But now, because more people are seeing The Father, and a lot more people are saying, you know what, I really, really think Chadwick's going to win, but I think Anthony was the best, so I'm going to vote for Anthony. If enough people have that mindset of, oh, Chadwick's going to win, so I'll just vote for Anthony, Anthony's going to win. It's really, really tough. It's really, really tough because, my heart was with Chadwick 100%. Like, I think it is the best performance of the year from maybe any actor. Maybe only second to Daniel Kaluuya. Like, I really do think Chadwick Boseman gives a performance of a lifetime. So does Anthony Hopkins, but again, Anthony Hopkins has won before too, and you have to take that into account as well. A few years ago, Glenn Close had this Oscar wrapped up, for The Wife. She was the frontrunner, no one was going to beat her, and Olivia Colman beat her. And you know why Olivia Colman beat her? Is because a lot of people said, you know what, Glenn's going to win, I'll just vote for Olivia. Glenn's going to win anyway. And then Olivia won. And you know where else Olivia won? BAFTA. So that makes me really hesitant to not pick Anthony Hopkins. But I think this whole award season, Chadwick has been one of the biggest stories of that. And that is what is just keeping me from picking Anthony Hopkins. I just think the narrative is still on Chadwick's side. Despite all these statistics saying that Anthony Hopkins could and very well might win, I think Chadwick is just too strong of an early contender that I don't think has lost steam. I just think Anthony Hopkins has gained steam. I don't think Chadwick ever lost steam, though. I think Chadwick's always been here and Anthony is now slightly meeting him, but I really do think Chadwick is still the favorite here. And while it is in this category of, WTF is going on, like I still don't know really what's going on in Best Actor, I still think it's Chadwick's to lose. So I'm going to predict Chadwick, but if Anthony Hopkins wins, I don't think it's going to be this huge, shocker, because Anthony Hopkins does have some statistics on his side. Here is the big one. Here is the one that I've spent nights agonizing over, and just countless minutes just shaking my head about. And honestly, the more I talk about it, the more I talk myself out of certain scenarios, and that is Best Actress. If you look at the major awards bodies, the Critics' Choice went for Carey Mulligan, the SAG went for Viola Davis, the Golden Globe went for Andra Day, and the BAFTA went for Frances McDormand. So of course, it is completely all over the place. Vanessa Kirby, she hasn't won anything. At least the other four have won in major award ceremonies that I just don't see Vanessa Kirby happening, although she gives a great performance. Viola Davis won the SAG Award. The SAG Award is very well representative of what might happen at the Oscars. But her movie isn't up for Best Picture. If a movie isn't up for Best Picture, it doesn't win 4 awards. And right now I've got Ma Rainey winning makeup, costumes, and Best Actor for Chadwick Boseman. So for Viola to win, for Ma Rainey to win 4 awards and not even be up for Best Picture, that just doesn't usually happen. You usually don't see a film that's not nominated for Best Picture, especially when they've, expanded the category to 8. It didn't even get into those 8, and for it to win 4 awards, I'm just very hesitant. Then you have Andra Day, who, gives an amazing performance. I just saw this movie for the first time yesterday, and it's a great performance. But again, I don't think the movie itself is good enough, and I don't think enough people have seen it to where she's a true contender. Frances McDormand is great in Nomadland and gives one of her best performances of all time, but she's already won 2 awards. To give an award to someone for a third time in an acting category, very few actors have reached that status. But again, it's Frances McDormand, so, an actor of her caliber, she is amongst some of the greats. She is amongst the greats. So I wouldn't be surprised if she does get a third. And then Carey Mulligan, you just have Carey Mulligan sitting here, and she hasn't won a lot of the precursors, yet she's still, I think, one of the most talked about performances of this year, and her movie is a frontrunner for original screenplay, and a lot of that screenplay is because of her character and her dialogue. This is a tough race, and honestly, the race that this makes me think of the most is in 2002, the Best Actor race. You had Jack Nicholson for About Schmidt, Daniel Day-Lewis for Gangs of New York, and Adrien Brody from The Pianist. Those were the 3 contenders headed into award season, of legitimate contenders that people thought could win. The Critics' Choice, Jack Nicholson and Daniel Day-Lewis tied. Okay. Golden Globes come around, Jack Nicholson wins. So Jack Nicholson pulls ahead in the race, and he's the front runner. Then Daniel Day-Lewis wins the BAFTA and the SAG. So now Daniel Day-Lewis has the BAFTA, the SAG, and the Critics' Choice. Jack Nicholson has the Critics' Choice and the Golden Globe. So they're kind of the 2-horse race headed into Oscar night. But then at the Oscars, Adrien Brody wins for The Pianist, and he was someone who was always nominated and had good word of mouth, but never won any of the precursors. And this is exactly what I think is happening with this race. You have your seasoned veteran who has won multiple awards. That is Jack Nicholson. In this case, it is Frances McDormand. She has been awarded with 2 Oscars already. She has a lot of, awards, a lot of gold on her side, just like Jack Nicholson did in 2002. Viola Davis is the Daniel Day-Lewis. Back then, in 2002, Daniel Day-Lewis had only won 1 Oscar. He hadn't won for Lincoln yet. He hadn't won for There Will Be Blood yet. I think Viola Davis is in a similar position where I think she is someone who could win 3 awards in her lifetime. I think she very well will. I still think Viola Davis has a lot of her career left ahead of her to win those awards, just like Daniel Day-Lewis did in 2002. He didn't win the Oscar because I think a lot of people knew there was still stuff coming from him that would be great, and maybe Gangs of New York wasn't the performance to give it to him. And then a few years later, he wins for There Will Be Blood, and he wins for Lincoln a few years after that. So I think Viola Davis could very well be the Daniel Day-Lewis of this scenario, where she's, got an award under her belt and is probably, one of the most respected people amongst the Academy. But again, she has a long career ahead of her where she probably will win more. And then Carey Mulligan feels like the Adrien Brody, where she's just still being talked about and still being in the conversation, even though she hasn't really won a ton of precursors. Except the difference with Carey is, opposed to Adrien Brody, is she actually won the Critics' Choice, which I think really helps her. So this is why, I bring up 2002, because this is a really, really tight race. And I think it does come down to those 3, Frances McDormand, Viola Davis, and Carey Mulligan. And I think at the end of the day, I've just got to go with what I think the word of mouth has been going toward, and I think that's Carey Mulligan. That is going to be my prediction. Again, Frances could win, but again, Frances is going to win if Nomadland wins Best Picture, which, spoiler alert, I think it will. If it wins Best Picture, then Frances is getting gold anyway. So maybe she doesn't have to win 2 awards in one night. Maybe they can spread the wealth. Viola Davis, again, her movie's not nominated for Best Picture, so for Ma Rainey to pick up 4 awards, I'd be a little surprised. So that is why I'm going with Carey Mulligan. Not necessarily because I think Carey Mulligan has the momentum over the other 2. I just think there are other things that are slowing the other 2 down for me for predicting it. Again, this could go any which way. If Andra Day wins, I won't be surprised. If Vanessa Kirby wins, I won't be surprised. I do think this is a 4-horse race, but I wouldn't count out anybody at this point. I wanted to end on Best Picture because I think this is honestly one of the more straightforward awards of the night, but I saved it for last. I think Nomadland's gonna win. It's been winning a lot of these precursors. It won the Globe, it won the Critics' Choice, it won the BAFTA, it won the PGA, it won the Indie Spirit Award. It has won everything in these major award shows, and I really do think it is a beautiful film that will get recognized. Ever since I started predicting the Oscars, 2012, I predicted Argo, it won. 2013, predicted 12 Years a Slave, it won. 2014, I predicted Birdman, it won. 2015, I predicted The Revenant and Spotlight won. 2016, I predicted La La Land, Moonlight won. 2017, though, I predicted The Shape of Water, so that broke my streak. I got that win. 2018, I picked Roma, it went to Green Book. 2019, I picked 1917, it went to Parasite. So here's the thing. I've never gotten 3 in a row wrong. So history is on my side here. I think Nomadland it has a good shot because I'm picking Nomadland. If it doesn't win, that'll be 3 years in a row where I don't predict Best Picture, and I've never done that before. I'm not an expert, so I could very well be wrong again, but I do think Nomadland, for the sake of me not going 3 in a row wrong, and for the sake of just following the momentum of this award season, it just seems fitting that Nomadland will win Best Picture. So those are my predictions. Please share yours below. I'd love to hear yours. Where do we differentiate? Those categories, best editing, adapted screenplay, actor and actress, could go any way. And I think there are legitimate contenders to steal from the frontrunners. I definitely think so. So please let me know down below what you think. We'll see what happens. I'm just excited for the show. I'm excited. The Oscars have always been a great way to celebrate film. And I can't wait to share a video after the Oscars to let you know what I think of it. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you like this video, please like, subscribe. So many people, I read the statistics on YouTube. A lot of people have watched these videos without subscribing. So please, if you like this video, there will be a lot more like it. I'd love to talk Oscars with you. Give me a comment. I'll probably respond to it down below. So please like, subscribe, share it to your friends. If you have a lot of Oscar fans amongst your friends, send it to them. Be like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, or this guy knows what he's talking about. I have a feeling a lot of you guys will disagree with some of my picks, but that's okay. And again, whatever happens, happens. It's going to be a fun night. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.